Imagine this. When my children were 5 and 9 years old, I decided to drive from my home in Hope, New Jersey, to my grandmother's house in Raleigh, North Carolina. 501.7 miles. Even though my kids hated long car rides, it wasn't a hard sell. Mima's house was the land of sockball fights, endless snacks, and pick-your-own bedtimes. They were packed and ready before I had the chance to say, "Batten the hatches" means we're on the way. We hadn't even crossed the Delaware Memorial Bridge when a voice from the back seat asked, "Are we there yet?" Over the next 8.5 hours, the question was repeated over and over and over, 217 times, which is probably why when you hear the question, "Are we there yet?" it brings back bad memories of long car rides. And you're not alone. In 2019, Sunday Communications conducted a survey of the most annoying questions asked by kids while on vacation. "Are we there yet?" was number 2. Now, each time my kids asked, what they wanted to know was, how close are we to Mima's house? Their focus was on the destination and the distance between where we were and where we wanted to be. They never asked about the we. They assumed that because we all got in the same car and were going to the same place, we'd all arrive together. It never occurred to them to question whether only one or some of us would make it. They never worried or wondered whether a rest stop would become a left behind stop, though trust me, they should have. Maybe if I had turned around and asked, when you say we, to whom are you referring? They would have stopped and all would be well. Because "are we there yet?" is not a question worth asking or answering when it comes to family outings. It has no bearing on the destination, the journey, or who arrives. But can the same be said of "are we there yet?" when applied to schools? In the context of K-12 public education in America today, the we is worthy of consideration. So, who is we? At a Board of Education meeting, a group of parents stand up and say, "We don't want books with gay characters in the district libraries. We want them removed." Another group of parents stands up and says, "We don't believe in censorship. We want the books to stay." A football coach insists we should be allowed to pray during halftime. Parents of students, athletes say, "We believe religion has no place in schools." At a budget meeting, advocates for gifted and talented students say they feel their students are being shortchanged because money and resources are being siphoned off for those special ed kids. And in a 6th grade language arts class, a gen ed teacher asks the in-class support teacher, when referring to a student they teach together, "She's one of yours, right?" Yet when it comes to schools, Russ Qualia reminds us there is no them. There's only us. So who is we? A 2023 study by the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace found Americans have become increasingly more ideologically polarized since the mid-70s, though the degree to which they differ is actually far less than they believe. In truth, there is considerable agreement between members of opposing parties on even the most contentious topics. For example, in 2022, the Pew Research Center studied the mission statements of more than 1,300 school districts from across the United States. And they found that both Democratic and Republican-leaning communities had mission statements that reflected shared ideals, like students' future readiness, parent and community involvement, and providing a safe and healthy educational environment for all students. Yet the Carnegie study also found that affective polarization, the emotional dislike and even disgust between members of opposing parties, has not only grown but accelerated quickly since the mid-90s. Americans now hold stronger negative beliefs based largely on mistrust and misperception about the other side than at any other time in recent history. So how is this affecting schools? According to the fall of 2022 American School District Panel Survey, district leaders are spending more time managing conflicts, addressing culture wars, and responding to open public records requests. 51% of district leaders agreed or strongly agreed that dissension over critical race theory, LGBTQ issues, and COVID is negatively impacting their ability to educate kids. These conflicts have become partisan, divisive, and even dangerous. 43% of district leaders say their educators have received threats. What's been done so far? 46% of district leaders say they've taken steps to reduce conflict, like creating opt-out procedures for students and conducting one-to-one meetings with parents and community members to address information. Unfortunately, these efforts have done little to quell the rising tide of animosity and allow educators to focus on the high-stakes work of educating America's youth. How do we find common ground? A shared interest in addressing the needs of all students. Maybe what schools need is a new math. Perhaps the answer lies in an equation. The trust equation by Meister, Green, and Galford suggests that in every interaction, people are unconsciously calculating trustworthiness, the degree to which they believe they can trust the other person's words, deeds, intentions, and emotions. The outcome of the equation is determined by 4 trust elements. Credibility refers to competence and is based on 2 interacting factors: the degree to which the person has the necessary content knowledge and technical expertise, and the way the person openly shares the information and engages others in its use. Reliability is about dependability and consistency. The more a person's actions fulfill their obligations and align with our expectations, the more reliable we believe them to be. Intimacy is about emotional connection. Far more than simply building rapport, people who create a sense of intimacy make others feel safe, like they can be vulnerable even when sharing difficult personal and professional truths. Intimacy is about making others feel truly known, respected, and understood. The denominator is self-orientation, the degree to which the other person is focused on you and your needs, or themselves and their needs. The more people seem to prioritize their own interests and be preoccupied with their own agenda, the less they are seen as trustworthy. The decision to trust someone is based on this very human calculation. To get to we must increase the quantities in the numerator and decrease the denominator. So was I ever there? I became principal of the 1,200 student middle school in January, and it didn't take long for Dave and I to form a strong partnership. As the long-standing vice principal, Dave had deep knowledge of the school's history and current practices and positive relationships with students and teachers. He was a steady and reliable force in the leadership of the school. He was also a lot of fun. Every time we could, we'd get together for lunch and share stories about our families, our friends, our hobbies, about who we were outside of school. And that's how we found out. One of us was a Giants fan. The other, Cowboys all the way. One, a Mac user. The other, Windows. One, anti-guns. The other, not only owned guns and hunted, made their own bullets. Yet despite our differences, we bonded over what we had in common: a shared commitment to the 1,200 students entrusted to our care. We put our we over our me and remained a team until his retirement years later. So are we there? To get there, we must be here, together, getting to know each other, realizing we are all advocates of a common cause: the education of America's children, because there is no them. There's only us. Oh, and the number one most annoying question asked by kids: why? Thank you very much.